Happy Friday, a holiday edition. Welcome in, Deuce. How you doing today?
I'm good. I got everything done early this year, so just enjoying the lead up to probably the best holiday.
It's a lot more cheerful here in the Philadelphia area after last night. Give me your thoughts. That's another winner for us. We're getting hot at the right time.
The Eagles have played tough the last 3 weeks. To me, I think we just betted on the line movement, right? I mean, never seen we call it a fletch. It's when the public is betting on something at a greater than 70% clip, yet the line goes the opposite direction. Our line is 1.5, 2 points, but this one moved a whole 5 points in basically 5 hours. So
It was
kind of
crazy,
sniffed that one out. I had never seen anything like that in 10 years, maybe.
especially in a primetime game. I think we may have seen it once in a college game this year, a 5 or 6 point move.
Yeah,
But
college games you see it a couple times a year.
yeah, but I mean the Thursday night primetime game that's going to get a lot of action with two somewhat public teams. It was crazy to see.
Yeah, one of them obviously in contention, but still going for that number one seed. They needed some help, but still. I can't think of the game, but it was about 10 years ago. And the shocking part to me was the short amount of time it happened in. I think it was just yesterday, basically, that happened.
I saw Wednesday night it jumped back to three. It was 3 to 2.5, and then I saw Wednesday night it jumped back to three, and I thought the Giants were going to be the play, and then I woke up and it was down to 1.5.
When you sent the text yesterday, I hadn't even looked at it because it wasn't going to be one of the games that I picked. And I was thinking I was going to see like maybe 60-40 Giants spread, that some of the Eagles bets had come up, and it had actually gone down to 20%, which is insanely low. 20% of the tickets, you're steaming a 5-point line move. That was nuts, but obviously it worked out. The Eagles are playing hard. The last 3 weeks I've been impressed with Doug Peterson.
After that Cincinnati game, it would have been very easy for them to pack up the bags. A lot of players were called out, coaches were called out, and they had their two best efforts the last 2 weeks with Washington and Baltimore. And then last night they obviously played well. I don't know if Peterson's the guy moving forward, but he certainly is getting these guys to play hard.
A couple of things with him. It seemed like his play calling, the scripting of it, he was using the same script since basically week one. Teams figured it out and they got stale. He's come back the last few weeks and really attacks the middle of the field more, which I like. Their defense has played well, and he is one of the better challenge coaches I've seen so far.
Yeah, that challenge last night, it turned out to be not as important, but the challenge right before the 2 minute with the spot. You don't see many spots get overturned. I thought it was a big challenge.
No, and when time stopped, I saw him looking and talking to his microphone, and I thought to myself, man, I bet he challenged them and wins that, and that was the second challenge in a row that he won.
Yep.
5 minutes, basically.
The other thing I noticed, I know his numbers haven't been great, but I think Wentz is finally starting to figure out the NFL and settle into the offense. He's been more comfortable in the pocket, more comfortable running out of the pocket. It seems like he's finally getting a grasp on it.
I agree. He still took a couple shots last night, but when I had watched him earlier in the season, specifically their first game against Washington, it didn't seem like he understood when he gets out of the pocket, you probably need to throw it away more times than not. He underestimated the speed at which linebackers close on him, and it seems like now he kind of understands how fast they are.
It was crazy the amount of ground Rogers Cromartie made up on that interception.
Right. And that's, 6-7 weeks ago, I don't think he fully got that guys are that fast.
Even the ground that Malcolm Jenkins made up on the interception along the sidelines, the second interception Eli threw.
Yep.
It's crazy how fast those guys are.
Yeah, it's a lot of quarterbacks, even, not all of them are Mike Vick, but they think they have guys beat on angles running towards the sidelines, and all of a sudden the guys are in their face.
All right, well, let's I had Giants 3.5 last night.
Giants 4.
So I got that. It did open 3. I'm down 1 with 2 weeks to go. So I need this to stay alive.
That was a nice bunt off the tee win there.
A lot of these games are Saturday. We'll start with your Hearts. They go to Chicago. I have the Hearts -4.
I had the same exact thing.
We tie, and we got it exactly. It opened 4. It's down to 3.
Yeah, a little bit of a street move the other way. I think this is a bad spot for Washington off of a bad loss on Monday night. You got to go to a cold weather stadium against a team that is out of it, but is not playing like it. I think there's a bunch of guys on that team fighting for jobs. I think it's a really tough spot, and I like Chicago if you're getting 3 and a hook somewhere.
Interesting. What's the talk after Monday night's game down there?
Well, you know this city. It's if you win one game, you won the Super Bowl. If you lose one, let's break the whole team up and start from scratch. A lot of questioning of Jay Gruden, which is kind of new. That really hasn't been happening. The defense is where most of the talk is, and rightfully so. The defense has been a complete disaster this year. They need an overall every spot on that defense. Quietly, though, there are some of the smarter people are talking about the attitude of the team. If we can ever get over the hump with some of the guys that play key roles, specifically Deshaun Jackson, Trent Williams. It's going to be tough to let either one go. Trent is locked up for a long time, and he's a great player, but the record in big games, especially in night games, is atrocious. It's the worst in the league the last 20 years, so something has got to change.
I saw that stat. Their Monday night record is 1-18 or 1-15. I thought that was a joke. I can't believe that.
Yeah, that's what people were talking about, the mentality. They think we either need to bring in a defensive coordinator or somebody that kind of takes that record, owns it, and changes the physicality and the mentality of playing in those big spots. So we'll see. Cousins is still going to get paid. A lot of the local yokels sportscasters were saying, oh, this probably really cost him some money. I don't buy into that. So we'll see. I just think their offense has been so good this year that it kind of matches some of their other problems. They are a bottom 5 defense, and I don't think it's close. Josh Norman, I guess your boy Ryan Kerr, the only 2 guys I would even keep on that defense.
For the folks down there or across the country that are against Cousins' contract, where do you go if it's not Cousins?
I don't even know. There's no argument to be made. That's all you need to say. Now, if you really drop down in football IQ level, people will say, oh, well, Sean Watson's a really good player. I mean, you're not getting him. B, that's a project. So I think it's more that people can't grasp the numbers that quarterbacks make. They'll see Cousins getting $100 million, and they'll see that it's also the same amount that Aaron Rodgers is getting, and they don't understand it. So I think that's the bigger problem.
I'm looking at the standings now. This is a must-win for the Hearts. You still think Chicago's the play?
At 3.5.
At 3.5.
Yes. I think Washington wins the game by 1 point.
Interesting.
21-20.
And I don't have it in front of me. Do you know who they conclude the year with?
The New York Football Giants.
Oh, wow. That'll be an interesting game next week.
Yes. Especially if they win this week, so we'll see.
We move to Buffalo. They host the Dolphins. Both teams very much alive. Bills need a little bit of help, but they are alive. I said Bills -4.
I said Bills -1.
I get this. It opened 3.5, and it is up to 4.
It feels like Vegas really values the Bills. I'm not really sure why.
Could it be Matt Moore?
Yeah, I forgot about Matt Moore, to be honest. This has got got to be one of those low-scoring close games where something fluky happens. The Bills won comfortably against Cleveland, but they still, it was kind of the old Sean McCoy show. They still didn't move the ball through the air. I think Sammy Watkins had one catch. So, not that impressed with the win. It is December, and we do have a warm weather team going to play outdoors. So, that would take me away from Miami no matter what.
Defensively, the defensive line for Miami worries me. I lean Buffalo this week, but that defensive line worries me. And if Tyrod Taylor has to win this game, I don't feel confident.
Yeah, the forecast for Saturday, rain, chilly, some wind. So I'm not sure how much damage will be done through the air from any team. But I agree with you. I don't like the no man's land of 4, but I would lean Bills.
Looking at the standings, Miami still has the inside track. They control their own destiny.
It's a big game, though.
It's a huge game.
Yeah.
What happens if chaos breaks out and Buffalo gets in? Is Rex Ryan still going to be fired?
That's a great question, and I think, was it last week that the report was that he's all but gone? Which was kind of crazy to hear, given that their path to the playoffs isn't impossible.
No. If you look at it, in front of them is the Dolphins, who they play this week. The Ravens have the Steelers. The Titans, I believe, have 2 divisional games.
Yes.
The Broncos have the Raiders and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then it would be Buffalo.
Yeah, and the Dolphins, I think, conclude with New England next week. It might not mean anything, but if it does, I doubt New England takes the same route as last year and gives up the number 1 seed and has to go on the road. I think they realized that was a mistake, so I don't think it's that dire of a situation in Buffalo.
So I lean Buffalo, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I would like to see where this line goes. I think if it ticks up to 5, I actually like Buffalo even more.
To the Dome in New Orleans, they host the Buccaneers. I had Saints -2.
I also had the Saints -2.
So we tie that one. It opened Saints 3.5. It's down to 3.
The public is on Tampa Bay Buccaneers at a 64% clip. We kind of got that Jameis game last week. I know he had to throw late in the game, so one of those picks doesn't really count in my mind, but made some mistakes. I don't know what to think about Tampa. I've been wrong on them a lot this year, but their defense has played well. They can't run the ball, which worries me, and they only have 1 receiving threat, Mike Evans. So if you want to call that one-dimensional, I wouldn't disagree with you. I actually think this is a bad spot for them. The Saints played really well in Arizona last week. And Drew Brees, like you mentioned, either last week or the week before, really played well this year.
The right tackle for Tampa Bay was absolutely atrocious last week.
He got abused.
They didn't even try to help him at the end of the game. I know that they had to throw the ball. But on that last possession, Jameis had no shot.
No.
I was somewhat impressed with Jameis last week. I haven't got to see much of Tampa Bay this year. I think he's going to be very, very good.
No, I'm all in on the Jameis Winston franchise quarterback, especially 4 or 5 years down the line. I think he's really smart. He seems to just make plays. To me, he looks like Ben Roethlisberger when he was that age.
This is a huge game for the Wagon. Sitting at 8-6, I believe Green Bay would have the tiebreaker at 8-6.
Tampa did go into New Orleans last year and win, I believe.
Yes.
I think we were on the
Yes.
eliminator pick
Yes.
that week. So we have Deuce in this matchup. I'm a stubborn mule, so I'm going to keep banging the drum against him. I like the Saints only giving 3 at home.
I also lean that way, I think. Last week does worry me a little bit how well New Orleans played. I do like that they come back home and they seem to play well in the Dome. What do you make of the reports that the Saints would be willing to trade Sean Payton for not a lot of money? Or not a lot of return, I should say.
I'm inclined to believe that there's fire behind the smoke. Only because we've heard this now for 3 off seasons, I think. It just seems to me like ownership wants a different direction. I don't know how they can do that, though, with Drew Brees as their quarterback. I can't imagine Brees wants Peyton gone or would want to play there without Peyton. So he would have to have ultimate say, I think, in the new coach. But
mission is better.
It feels like one of those stale situations where something needs to change for both of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've said that the last year and a half that it's probably time to break it up. I was just surprised that they wouldn't ask for much in return.
I would love to see a real report about who has had ultimate personnel decision there. If it has been Loomis and the ownership group and the GM, and I like Sean Payton a lot still. If he's the one that's had personnel control, then I want no part of him as a head coach if he demands any of that, because they have made some horrific free agent decisions.
Yes, I agree with that. The Bucs are still in the division hunt, just a game and a half behind Atlanta. They obviously need help, but they could also get in that route.
Yeah, clearly motivation on the side of Tampa here. If this was another team, it'd be inclined to take Tampa on the small number on the road, but to me, it's just Drew Brees. I don't see him as a guy that really wants to pack up shop for the season.
Speaking of those Falcons, they go to Carolina this week. I said Carolina minus, Atlanta minus 5.
I said Atlanta minus 3.
You get this one. It opened 3.5. It is down to 3.
Looks like Julio Jones will be a full go. Limited in practice the last couple of days, but head coach says he's going to play. Carolina's pretty impressive on Monday. I know the Redskins kind of made a bunch of mistakes, but I was impressed with Carolina's defense. Their defensive line especially really stopped the run, and they got some pressure, which the earlier games of the season I watched with them, it never really happened. Carolina's a weird team to figure out. That Monday night game, I can't tell if they might have put all their eggs in that basket trying to ruin a season on national TV, and now they're going to pack up shop, or if they're still playing for something. I just can't figure them out.
I think I agree with you. It almost I think I said it last week that it was a tough spot for Washington and that Cam Newton was going to want to play in the spotlight. If that was a 1 o'clock Sunday game, I think Washington wins it. But I think that may have been Carolina's, Super Bowl, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think I like Atlanta in this game.
That is where I was leaning. Luke Kuechly also, he cleared protocol. He is pushing to play, but I would be totally shocked if they let him play again this year. So, captain of the defense still out. Cam Newton also on the injury report, bruised his shoulder pretty good. He took a couple pretty big shots on Monday night. I think I'm with you. I think even though it's not the right side here, per se, almost 70% betting on Atlanta, I think the line is going in the correct direction.
In what might be the biggest game of the weekend, Packers hosting the Vikings. I think we both agree that if the Packers could get in, they could be dangerous. They need this one, though, to set up that matchup with Detroit next weekend. They host the Vikings in Lambeau. I said Green Bay minus 7.
I said 8.
I get this one. It opens 6.5. It's up to 7.
I know it's the public side, but Aaron Rodgers at home in December, almost a flawless record. More so an indictment against Minnesota. They just can't move the ball. That was a completely embarrassing showing last week against Indy. I don't care if he has Superman behind that offensive line. He can't run the ball. It's basically Adrian Peterson.
Is he going to play this week?
He has hurt the Packers before, but different circumstances. Just the Packers defense has played much better in the last 4 or 5 weeks. I don't know how Minnesota even moves the ball.
Is Peterson going to play this week?
I think he's going to play, yes. I think he's on a limited snap count, though, just like it was last week. I think he played 20 snaps last week.
It's crazy to think that 3 months ago, when Minnesota beat Green Bay, we thought Minnesota was the class of that division.
Their defense was great. Their defense is not what it was. Now, injuries have played a big part of that. In my opinion, the best player on the entire roster is Harrison Smith, and he's been out the last 4 weeks now, I think, with a severe ankle sprain.
Hindsight's obviously 2020. Looking back, would you still have done the Bradford deal?
No, I was not. Even when they were 4-0 or whatever they were, I don't think you give up a first-round pick for Sam Bradford in any circumstance.
I like their defense, but when I look back at that Seattle playoff game, I know Minnesota should have won. Walsh missed that short field goal, but I don't think Seattle was. We saw it the week after they went to Carolina and got destroyed, but I didn't think Minnesota was that close. Defensively, they were good, but offensively, I don't know why they went all in this year.
I don't either. I think that you need about 4 guys in the offensive line before you're competitive on that side of the ball. They probably need another receiver. I like Diggs, but I don't think he's a true number 1. It doesn't really matter who your running back is when you can't get any sort of push.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like Green Bay in this spot. I think Rodgers should have a big game.
It doesn't. Green Bay doesn't seem to ever beat anybody by 40, but this just feels like it has, 24-14 written all over it, something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. For December, the weather in Lambeau's it shouldn't be too bad. Wind chill only 25, not much wind.
Yeah.
Uh,
a dome team going outside, Minnesota, even though they're used to the cold, still different circumstance.
To the Boston area, New England hosts the Jets. I said Patriots minus 14.
I must have had a few cocktails. I said 12.5.
I wasn't high enough either. It opened 16.5. It's still 16.5.
At first thought, I was like, this is insane. Like, this is an easy Jet play. And then I forgot the Jets beat them earlier this year.
No. Patriots needed that last drive.
Yeah. So, still sort of a revenge spot for New England, especially for Tom. I'm not going to touch this line either way, but can't see with something on the line still New England them not beating the Jets soundly.
Yeah, I mean, 16.5 points is way too many for me to take, but there's no way I'm taking the Jets.
I mean, it sort of smells like the Seahawks-Rams game we just had on Thursday night where the line is enormous, but Rams can't score, so...
I mean, it would take a lot for me to convince myself that Bryce Petty's going to do anything against Bill Belichick.
Would you feel comfortable taking the Jets at 23?
23, I think so.
I don't know if I would.
Because the only thing is that Brady's a little banged up. If they get up, I know it's not in his DNA to sit, but they may just start pounding the ball.
Yeah, they will. I'm sure they will. It still feels to me like a 20-point game.
I can't touch this one.
Yeah.
To Jacksonville, they host Tennessee. Huge win for Tennessee last week.
Yeah.
I said Tennessee minus 6.
I said 7.
I get this. It opened 4 and it's up to 5.
spot because this is one of the games. It used to be a trap game for Tennessee. It's now a trap game on the other direction where they're supposed to win, and they have not been in this position before. They're playing a team that just fired their coach that's been atrocious this year. Can they stay focused enough to put the Jags away? I'm going to say yes, but I am hesitant.
Yeah. How could you put your money behind Blake Bortles?
I can't. That's the point.
I read that some of the players in Jacksonville were unhappy that Gus Bradley was able to board the team plane after he was fired.
They felt bad for him, or
they didn't want him on the plane.
Oh, God.
Do they play any better under a different coach?
Who's the interim coach? I don't even
know. Doug Marrone.
Oh, our boy Dougie from the X-Wagon and the Syracuse Orangemen. This is more of a is Tennessee going to show up game than is Jacksonville game to be. I don't think there's a chance in hell Jacksonville ready to play. They're picking out vacation spots. They're looking to get their travel plans ready. There's no way they want any part of football anymore.
If you're the coach that gets hired in Jacksonville next year, do you try to revitalize Blake Bortles, or is he too far gone?
I never was into the Blake Bortles camp. He just looks like Tim Tebow throwing it with that hitch. Like a full baseball windup, and unless you can correct that, I don't know how you see him to where he is your franchise guy. The NFL, you gotta let it fly out of your hand pretty quickly, or like you said earlier in the pod, like Malcolm Jenkins is gonna run all the way across the field and pick it off if you see him starting to wind up like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm ready to move on.
I don't know where to go with this game. Every week it seems the Jags are attempting play based on the number. And this week especially based on what happened with Tennessee last week, but I can't do it.
Tennessee is still in a must-win situation, so that's why I lean that way. And this isn't Drew Brees, fighting for pride. This is freaking the Jaguars in Week 16, ready for Santa to come to town.
I wish that I could trust Mike Mularkey.
Oh, yeah. He's lucky that they won last week.
What did you think about him going for 2?
That was moronic. Kansas City hasn't scored in 12 hours, basically. Your defense was playing great. I totally get the going for 2 if you're just giving up chunk yards and your defense is in a free fall, but not in that situation.
How about his comment afterwards that he knew they were going to get the ball back?
Oh, God. Yeah. I'm sure he did. He's the reason this is going to be a weird team, because that roster is starting to get some talent, and when they build that secondary and they get a legit wide receiver, and they get knocked out of the playoffs for some stupid decisions or some bad game planning, I think we're going to see Milwaukee get fired and a real head coach want that job. I think it's an attractive job.
I do too. I think you sent me the link of teams with the most cap space, and the Titans are 4th, I believe.
Yeah,
plus the glutton of draft picks they have.
And you get to live in Nashville, pretty good city. Yeah, I think that's a really attractive job 2 or 3 years from now.
It's an attractive division to coach in, and they have the
exactly.
a bag of draft picks coming up.
Yeah. They would be close to the number 1 spot, especially if you believe in Mariota.
I'm with you. North from Jacksonville, we go to Cleveland. They host the Chargers. I said Chargers -5.
I agreed with you and said 5.
Tie. Open 6.5 down to 5.5.
You know what? It's the Christmas season. I love shitty teams. I love giving away presents. I'm on the Cleveland Browns one last time.
They go to Pittsburgh next week, so this seems to be their last chance to win.
I'm all in on the Browns one more time. West Coast City coming to the Rust Belt. That's got to be depressing. San Diego weather coming to Cleveland. That's got to be depressing. Their whole roster is basically backups minus Phil Rivers. They've just been ravaged by injuries. Yeah, I just think it's a good spot for the Browns. Desperation play here.
A good spot for the Browns. I want to say that I'm not doing it, but I'm with you.
It's just, I think it's going to be one of those games where San Diego's up 3-0 after the first quarter, and they're telling themselves, wow, we're only beating the Browns by 3. Then it's tied at 6 at halftime, and they start to panic. Then Cleveland somehow scores a touchdown. Not sure how, but they do. And then San Diego just goes into full panic mode.
I wish it was any other quarterback.
I don't even know who's playing quarterback.
I'm assuming it's RG3.
Oh, I think it might be somebody else this week. I'm being for real. I think you might see McCown or whoever the other guy is, Kessler.
I think it's clearly a tank. With the Niners only having 1 win, Jacksonville having 2 wins. When the Browns come out and say that they still believe in Kessler and they think he could be the quarterback of the future, but then they throw RG3 out there, how is that not a tank?
It's a good question. I don't know. This is actually an important game for them to lose. Because they need to keep that number 1 pick. Although I don't even know if you want the number 1 pick this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. They probably will have.
If RG3 makes a mistake this week, you'll see him get yanked.
San Fran has Rams and Seahawks. So the Rams is a winnable game. They could. They need to lose too.
Here's the quote from Hugh Jackson. Robert is going to start this week. Cody is going to get more reps in practice. I am not uncomfortable on some point of putting Cody Kessler in the game against San Diego if there's a need for a change.
I also.
Right there.
I lean Browns.
I'm on the Browns. I'm not. I don't lean there. I'm fully on. I'm just all the way in this year. If we're going to lose with the Browns, I'm going to lose 10 times, not 9.
They haven't covered in about 2 months. They're due.
There's no way this can continue.
How much money has Vegas lost against the Browns this year?
I don't remember who tweeted it out. It was either RJ or Dave Turley. I think the Browns, he said the Browns are the most losing single team for pro bettors in the last decade. In San Francisco was like 3 or 4. So 2 in the same year. Out of 12, I think he said 12 years. It was a decade plus of betting.
Are you surprised the line's only what it is?
Exactly. Aren't you? Shouldn't it be 15?
Yeah, it should.
I am being dead serious. I actually kind of like this money line sprinkle here.
Jesus. You're talking me into it.
Well, we can just write it down and we can mull over it for 3 more days.
Let me write it down.
Although I don't want to talk ourselves out of it by thinking about the Browns.
That's not going to ruin Christmas dinner for you? Thinking about the Browns?
No, but I want to be on them during Christmas dinner.
Oh, that's right. It's a Saturday game. Well, do you think the line's going to drop any further than 5.5?
I do, actually. I think it gets down to the 4.5 range.
All right, we're locking it in then. Browns plus 5.5. One last time. We're 1 game under 500, making our run, and we do have the Browns on the card.
I mean, that would be fitting though. If we're gonna sink the ship, let's like really sink it. I don't want to just float around for a couple weeks.
The Browns one last time in 2016. This is it. This is the week, though, I think.
Done.
Interesting game in Oakland. Colts come to town. I said Raiders 4.5.
I said 7.
It opened 3.5. It's remained 3.5.
I need Thunder Dan. We need a podcast guest here. The Colts are hard to figure out. We kind of sniffed it out last week that they were going to play well. And it sort of seemed like another spot where they could. But the question to me is, can they do it back-to-back weeks like that?
This is a tough spot for them, I think. But those games where you think it's a tough spot, they seem to come and play.
Yeah, Andy Luck looked great last week. Clearly a different animal, though, with Oakland's offense. Even though they are a little banged up, both wide receivers are questionable again. Mari Cooper, especially in the last month or so, has really disappeared. Oakland should be able to move the ball. The Colts defense still not very good. I know they played well last week. The hook here is tempting, though, to take Indy in the hook, because they just don't have a ton to play for.
Indy 7-7 needs to win the division. Houston and Tennessee are 8-6. Indy should be the more desperate team in this situation.
Yeah, and this is one of those games where Oakland might be looking ahead a little bit, even though they can't really be. Kansas City losing last week might have taken that little bit of edge off. So, I'm inclined to lean Indy here.
I'm with you. I lean Indy as well. I want to see where the line goes and some of the injuries before we make this official, but I do lean Indy.
Agreed. We need a blessing, too, from the local.
I actually thought that Raiders win last week was a pretty big win. Pretty good win.
It was a huge win. Sort of a, divisional game, but sort of one of those trap games where San Diego is not very good, but they pulled it out.
Yeah, they finish with Denver next week, so kind of a trap game with the two divisional.
Correct.
And them still playing for home field.
Correct.
So I do lean Indy.
All right, put it on the side.
Staying in California, the Rams host the Niners. I said Rams -5.
I said Rams -1.
Well, we split it right down the middle. It's 3. It's jumped to 4.5.
Have I won a game yet this week?
It is currently 6-1.
All right, well, at least I'm on the board. I have no idea. No, honestly, no clue. If you gave me 10 points with either team, I'm not sure I feel good.
I'm with you. We're not picking it. We're moving on. Out west still, Seattle hosts Arizona. I said Seattle -6.
I said 7.
We split this one. It opened 6.5. It's jumped to 8.
Well, that line jump tells me there's some smart cash on Seattle, even though it's fairly split, 57-43.
These two teams played to a tie earlier, 6-6.
Yeah, I think Seattle, that's when Arizona was still in the hunt. That game was at Arizona, who was sneaky good at home. I think Seattle's going to win this game. I think they are a prime teaser candidate this week. But the over the touchdown always scares me with Seattle. They're, not explosive on offense, so that blowout against a pretty decent team might not happen, but I like the teaser candidate here.
I like the teaser call as well. I was just looking at the standings. There's 3 teams in the NFC with 9 wins. Seahawks have the inside track because of that tie. They're 9-4-1. But they're still playing for that 2 seed.
That's an more important 2 seed in my opinion than anybody else is playing. Obviously the best home field advantage in the league. And their home road splits are pretty glaring, so they need that 2 seed.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a teaser play. We just got to find something to match it up with. Perhaps the Packers.
Perfect.
Or the Titans, if you trust them.
I trust the Packers more. Well, why don't we just double down and go with the Browns in the third leg?
Jesus. Saturday night. The most happy man in America, Bill O'Brien. Now that he finally has a quarterback. Host the Bengals. I said Texans -3.
I said 1.
I get it. It opened 3.5. It is down to a pick.
Yeah, that's worrisome. But I do like that Billy O'Brien got his Christmas present early. Tom Savage actually looked pretty good. I know that it is much easier to come into the game kind of mid-game and play well than it is to start a game with that type of pressure. The public is on Cincinnati slightly, but not enough to cause that big of a line change. So some sharps probably got that the Bengals getting points there. Bengals have played better the past 5 weeks. I will say that. Probably enough to save Marvin Lewis's job, which is asinine. But I think they might have blown it all last week against Pittsburgh. They were up big against their division rival, arch rival now basically, with the fisticuffs that have happened in the last few years. They blew it. I kind of think they're going to come in deflated here, and I like Tommy Savage in his first start.
The Macho Man, I am with you. I think the best point you made was last week. They put it all the eggs in the Pittsburgh basket. I think this is a great spot for Houston. Cincinnati has Baltimore next week, so sandwich division game here. I like Houston.
So do I.
I'll put it on the side just in case something else comes out, unless you think the line's going to do something fluky.
I would put it on the side only if now that people have bought up all the Cincinnati, getting the 2 or 2.5, whatever it was, I think we might see a little bit of buyback on Houston. And I don't think it'll go past 1 point, though.
I'm with you. AJ Green going to play?
He is going to play, but from what I read from some fantasy football stuff, limited snap count, not sure it's going to mean a whole lot. If he feels any type of soreness, obviously they pull him immediately.
If you're Cincinnati, would you play him?
No, what's the point? What are you doing?
I feel the same way about Adrian Peterson. I'm not sure why either one of these guys are pushing it. I respect it, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah, especially the nature of the injury. If it was just kind of like a sprained ankle, whatever, no harm, no foul, but the tear of the hamstring, I mean, what if he goes out there and tears the whole thing, then he's on the shelf for 8 months?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So that concludes the Saturday slate. They give us 2 great Christmas Day games. Starting at 4:30 in Pittsburgh, Baltimore in town. I said the Steelers -4.5.
I took Pittsburgh 5.5.
Open 3.5 has jumped to 5.5.
Baltimore's defense has been exposed the past 3 weeks. I know they've been without their best corner, Jimmy Smith, but still, they have just given up yardage by the chunk. They looked awful last week against the run. They looked awful down the middle of the field. Pittsburgh has the weapons to totally put it on them, but the old rivalry game, this game is never a blowout. 5.5 in the middle of the road here. I want to leave Pittsburgh, but I don't think I can go there.
I'm on the other side. I do think they've been exposed a little bit. I was surprised how well the Eagles were able to run it last week. We were on that game. That game should have never even came down to that. Flacco threw an interception. First of all, I don't even know why they were throwing it. Second of all,
That's the first question right there.
I mean, they're going in, they go up 34-17, and I'm ready to cash our ticket. That was a big change in momentum for the weekend for us.
It was the whole game.
But that game should have never been as close as it was. It was a tough spot for Baltimore as well, with New England the week before and Pittsburgh this week. I like Baltimore a lot this week. I there's something. I know that he plays hurt all the time, but there's something with Ben. He has not looked good in 3 weeks.
I wouldn't be shocked if something crazy's wrong with him and it comes out after the season. I hear you. Jimmy Smith, get an update here. Jimmy Smith missed practice again yesterday. Looks like he's going to be out. I cannot see them containing Pittsburgh if he doesn't play.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I would like to see the injury report before anything was decided. But as you said, this is one of those rivalries that is always close.
It is, yeah. Can't argue with that.
If Baltimore were to drop this week, it's the Cincinnati game next week. Is there any talk of moving on from John Harbaugh?
There's already been talk. It's kind of weird that you bring that up, actually. There has been talk about him being a trade candidate, or his name has popped up for other jobs. It doesn't seem like the talk is coming from Baltimore, like they want him out, but other places. So I would assume he's safe. I think it's just a question of, he's been there a while. There's still some holes in the roster, especially in offense. I think it's fair to question Joe Flacco at this point, too. He had that magical run, but he has been pretty bad since. I think it's a question of if he wants something new or not.
If you're the rest of the AFC, do you have your Ravens gear on in hopes that the Steelers don't get in? Are you still afraid of them?
Yeah, I would be. Obviously, Ben hasn't played well, but to me, Le'Veon Bell is the best running back in the league, and I hate seeing him when he gets outside of running the ball. He seems to be more Marshall Faulky matchup-wise, nightmare for linebackers to cover. And I actually think their secondary is coming along. Artie Burns from Miami, the rookie, has been really good. Sean Davis, who I thought was going to be a bust from Maryland, the safety, looks like he could be a really good player too. So, whenever you have an offense like that, I would never want to see a team like that in the playoffs.
I was watching NFL Network last week, and they showed some clips of Marshall Faulk, and it is crazy how much him and Le'Veon Bell look alike in the way they played.
That was a bigger back. He is a little bit more physical. Faulk was obviously probably a little bit quicker. But totally agree. When you watch them make cuts and the patience that they show, very similar.
I forgot how unbelievable Marshall Faulk was.
He was a top 10 receiver in the league, basically, playing running back.
He is... when I look back, he may be the most underappreciated guy in my lifetime. As far as skill position goes.
I would agree.
I never think of him when I think of...
Edgerrin James was another one.
I never think of Marshall Faulk when I look back and think of top 10 backs. I always forget him. Just because he wasn't really flashy, didn't really speak out.
He might be the most versatile back that's ever played.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. The Sunday night game is in Kansas City. They host Denver. I said Chiefs -4.
I said 5.5.
Open 3.5 is remain 3.5.
I've been wrong on Denver every single time this year, so my gut is telling me to totally stay away. They're in desperation mode, though. So if you force me to lean it aside, I think they show up this game. I still don't know how they score. I think they come out and try to spread Kansas City out with some 4 or 5 wide receiver sets and just, abandon the run game, kind of double team Justin Houston and see what happens. But that could backfire quickly. I'm curious to see what you think about this game and Andy Reid.
I cannot believe what Kansas City did last week. They gave everything back that they have built up. Now they're behind Oakland. They need somebody to beat Oakland. I don't think they play next week. Kansas City concludes at San Diego. So yeah, they need help to get back in that 2-seed spot. This seems like the type of game that Andy will shine in after last week's debacle.
Yeah.
Andy seems to be somebody who's really good in knowing the NFL rules. I don't know if you got to see the end of the game. He faked going for it on 4th down and then tried to run the punt team out and the clock ran out. And he didn't realize that they had to bring the kicking ball out. So they ended up getting a delay of game. And
oh, I did see that, yeah.
I mean, it should have never came to that, but I think Kansas City is going to play well this weekend. I am shocked at Denver's performance last weekend.
Yeah. Chirps in the locker room about the offensive play calling. To me, if you watch the game, Simeon, I thought, actually played well. They had 6 drops, and they couldn't run the ball.
I read that Kubiak came in after the game and asked if anybody had to say anything, and the offensive lineman stood up and Talib got in his face and told him to sit down, and a brawl broke out.
I used to not like him, but I think Akeem Talib is one of my favorite players in the league now.
He has the attitude to be successful on the outside for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what you want your outside shutdown corner to be like. Yes. Their offensive line is atrocious. Their running game is laughable. Like, you should be able to find a running back in a freaking inner city anywhere in America, and they can't find one. Demarius Thomas was embarrassing last week with some of the drops he had. I like what Simeon did last week. To me, it's the best he looked in a month. I don't know if you can trust it, but like I said, I think you can beat Kansas City on the outside. I wish they had a better tight end, but yeah, Denver's in a weird spot here.
Denver, I think, is not going to make the playoffs. But
no.
Do you stick with Simeon going into next year?
That's kind of where I was going with the weird spot. I know I'm probably more of an outlier. I like what he's done. He's played hurt. I mean, I watched a lot of that game last week, almost every snap, and he made some good throws with no threat of a running game against the best pass rush in the league, probably. So, knowing John Elway, you just spent a first rounder on Paxton Lynch. I think you have to go with one of them next year. You gotta build the offensive line. I think that's obvious at this point.
Based on the amount of money they've sunk into the defense, do you think any of those, do you think Emmanuel Sanders or Demarius Thomas are trade pieces?
I think they are restructured. They're going to have to be restructured for sure. I don't know what Emmanuel Sanders' contract is, but I think he's in the $30 million range of guaranteed money. I would be shocked if one of them got dealt. That's a good point.
I mean, I think I've said it on the podcast before, but your window is so small in the NFL, especially now the way the salary cap is. I can't believe Trevor Siemian was the guy they went into the season with. I know that he hasn't been terrible, but I just don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Trevor Siemian unless your defense plays out of its mind. And I think it's a lot to ask 2 years in a row for your defense to do that.
100% agree. I'm looking at the contract a little deeper now. I think Demarius Thomas has the talent, and he's young enough to where somebody might give you a first rounder for him. To me, that's kind of the route I would take. Emmanuel Sanders is good enough to play one of the spots. I think you can find serviceable wide receivers. I would rather have a big tackle and an athletic tight end than 2 good wide receivers.
Yeah, I definitely think they have to explore it.
Yep, great point. I like that. We might need to look at that in the offseason. Possibility scenarios like that.
I want to lean Kansas City just because I think Andy's going to really have a good bounce back game. But the thing that worries me is what happened in the Denver locker room. Because either they're going to split and not come together and this game will be over early, or they're going to come together for one last stand.
Yeah. I'm totally off this game.
Yeah, I don't think I can make a play on it.
I could see either team winning by double digits, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. And lastly, Monday night in Dallas, Detroit in town. I said Dallas -6.
I gave them the full touchdown here, Dallas -7.
You got it. Open 7, remain 7. I win the week to force a game 7.
You absolutely squashed me this week.
I'm,
I didn't come to play.
I'm starting to see it.
If this were another week, if this was week 8, I would really like Dallas here. I think they have this formula to pound Detroit, and Detroit is very one-dimensional, which plays into Dallas' defense's hands. But Dallas wrapped everything up last night with the Giants winning, so, Detroit's got the desperation mode. Don't love Detroit's team. I think they've been a little bit fraudulent this year. So if it was a play, it would be Detroit plus the 7, but I don't love it.
Do you think we will see Tony Romo?
No, I don't.
Do you think we will see him next week in Philly?
No, I don't. I don't even think they want that possibility floating around.
Interesting.
And I think Jerry kind of wants to see it, but I think Jason Garrett would quit if that happened.
Do you think we will see less of Ezekiel Elliott?
Now, that is a possibility. I think you'll see less. I don't think you'll see him 25 carries, that's for sure.
So without Dallas, without anything to play for, you don't lean Detroit?
Getting the full touchdown Detroit did basically in a must-win scenario now going forward. I know I picked them to lose this game last week when we were looking ahead, but that was assuming Dallas will have the number 1 seed to play for. I still think Dallas tries to stay on a roll, so I think they win the game, but, it kind of opens up back more possibilities for a team that has nothing to play for.
How do you feel about the Lions plus 13?
I guess I feel pretty good about it.
I think that may be the second end of the Seahawks teaser, the way to go.
We can even bump it to 3 if you want. Packers, Seahawks, Lions.
I keep looking at that Packers game. The 2 high lines are the Packers and the Seahawks and the Titans, I guess the 3. And this Dallas game are the 4 high ones. I can't see all of them covering.
If you're asking me to pick a 2-teamer, I like the Seahawks Packers, both getting them down to whatever. I really like that.
I think that Seahawks definitely have to be in it, and then I think it's either the Packers or the Lions.
I like both of them.
Well, we could discuss. We have a couple days. The more I look at it, maybe more I like the Packers.
Minnesota stinks.
I agree there.
Packers aren't losing at home in December in a game that means something. If they do, Mike McCarthy might get fired.
Just a quick look as we were going through the lines. It doesn't seem like the weather is going to play a huge factor this week.
No, there could be some rainy spots on Saturday, but no weather issues like we've seen the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Anything else?
I don't think so, no.
We will tweet out the officials. We may have a sprinkle in there.
There's already a sprinkle on the money line.
I don't have anything else. You have anything in the golf world?
17 Tiger Woods is a social media account. Go check that out. A little Mac Daddy Santa action if you want a good laugh. But no, golf is quiet. It cranks back up in 2 weeks at Kapalua.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. We'll come back next week. You do week 17, the big bowls preview.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
Well, in that case, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays, buddy, to you and your family.
Same to you.
Hope the kids get everything that they want from Santa.
Yeah, I'll be here putting dumb little kids' toys together all day on Sunday. Hopefully
I'm not there yet, so good luck.
Any drink of choice for the weekend?
Oh, that's a good question. I think tonight on tap is ginger beer with a lot of Tito's?
Found a drink. It's a Moscow Mule with added cranberry juice and cranberries for the holidays. Delicious.
Very good choice. I like that. Maybe I'll splash a little cran in mine as well.
And I'll probably pick up some dogfish to drink my holiday away.
I'm not doing the dogfish. I might go try to find the 90-minute if the Browns lose by 20.
I did 2-3 weeks ago have the 120 minute.
How was that? I've never had that actually.
It tasted very good. It took about one to get it going. A second and I would have.
This time of year, isn't it?
A second and I would have needed assistance getting out of the restaurant.
That's perfect for this time of year.
Yeah, it is.
One and done.
Great job by you today. We'll be in touch.
To the cap, bud. Happy holidays.
Same to you.